Hope you're doing well. I'm a gear fanatic just like anybody else that uses a camera, and buying gear gets really expensive, especially lenses and your camera bodies. When it comes to buying lenses, you're making an investment. Lenses are very expensive, but I don't think they always have to be. I want to talk today about third-party lens companies and why you should give them a shot. Before we start talking lenses, let me give you a little information on what third-party companies actually are. Every big camera manufacturer like Canon, Sony, or Nikon, they all have a line of lenses that accompany their cameras. They're their lenses from their brand. But there are other companies that will build lenses for those camera bodies as well. Companies like Sigma, Tamron, Zeiss, Samyang, etc. There's a whole host of third-party companies that produce lenses for these cameras, but they are not related to the camera's manufacturer. And oftentimes the products from these third-party companies are going to be significantly cheaper than the big name brand lenses. And here's where the question lies. Are these third-party lenses as good as the big brands for significantly less money? For this video, we're mainly going to be looking at my Sigma 85mm f1.4. I've shot with a couple other third-party lenses, but this one I actually own. I have a lot more experience with this lens, so that's why I want to keep this video strictly to the Sigma 85 f4. I'm going to be talking about this lens using three different categories. First is going to be the build quality. How does it feel? Does it hold up after a lot of work? Is it just solid and well made? Next, I'm going to talk about image quality. That's kind of self-explanatory, picture good. And then I want to talk about the comparative price. How does this lens stand up to its competition for the price point? So those three categories are sort of how we're going to judge this lens, and we're going to talk through it together. We'll start off with how the thing is built. First things first, this lens is weighty. I wouldn't go so far as to say it's actually heavy. It feels solid and well made, and it's got some heft to it. But that's to be expected. This is an f1.4, meaning it goes all the way down to f1.4. You gotta have a lot of material and a lot of real estate to be able to get an aperture that wide. So a little bit of weight is gonna sort of come with the territory. The lens is mostly made of metal, which gives it a really sturdy and well-made feeling. It's just a solid lens. Everything about it feels solid, everything about it feels durable and like it's really gonna last you. Still talking about the build quality, there are two things about this lens that I absolutely love. The first thing is gonna be this rear lens cap. This is a little bit different from normal rear lens caps in that usually you have one section of the lens cap that can line up with the lens to screw the cap on. This Sigma lens cap has three. It makes it super easy. It allows you to put it on without looking. If you're in a wedding or a street setting or something fast paced, I tend to always be trying to look around while I'm changing lenses, just try not to miss things. That's just kind of a habit I have. It may be good, maybe bad, I don't know. Instead of trying to keep looking around and missing the cap a few times and having to look and fiddle with it, it's just an ease of use thing. It's really not a big deal. It's personal preference mostly, but it comes on this Sigma lens and I absolutely love it. I wish every lens was like this. The other thing I really like about this lens is the manual focus ring. As you can see, the manual focus ring is huge on this lens. It's like 2 inches. It gives you a ton of control over your focus. It allows you to make really quick and easy fine-tuning adjustments just because you've got so much real estate for your hand to be able to control that focus ring. And I've discovered recently that having a large focus ring is very helpful for video. It just gives you a lot of control, and that's something you're always gonna want. I think that's about it for the build quality of the lens. When you hold it in your hands, it feels good, and that means a lot to me. Let's move on to the image quality. This lens is far and away one of my favorite lenses I've ever owned, ever shot with, ever whatever. This lens is my absolute favorite. I don't even know what a second place would be. This is the sharpest lens I've ever shot with. I have Canon lenses that don't come close. I've shot with Canon lenses that don't come close. This Sigma 85mm is the sharpest and best looking lens I've ever shot with, and that just might be limited experience, but That is my opinion. This is the best lens I've really ever used. It's my favorite lens I own. The images I get off of this thing are incredible every single time. It's my go-to portrait and automotive lens. Anything where I can pose the scene and direct it myself, I'm opting for this Sigma, as long as I've got the room to be able to move around like I want to, just because it's a little bit longer focal length than 50 or 35. So if I've got the room and I can direct the scene, this is my go-to lens every single time. It also has given me great frames on the video side of things, which, I know that it's not going to be a huge difference, but I think it's important to note that the images I get are incredible, as usual, as I've come to expect from this lens, and I really couldn't be happier with some of the frames it's given me. The last thing I want to look at is comparative price. Now, the Sigma comes in at between $1,000 and $1,100, depending on where you are. The Canon 85mm f1.4 is going to come in around $1,700. Could be a little more, could be a little less, just depends a little bit. So that's about a $600-700 price difference between the two lenses. The last thing I want to talk about is comparative price. This 85mm from Sigma is about $600 less than its Canon counterpart, and that's a significant chunk of change. Nothing to shake your head at, especially if you're, like me, and you're gonna need a couple more lenses than just one. Saving $600 or $700 on a lens is helpful, and it'll take you a long way. I think that for what you're getting for the money, this lens is phenomenal. I think that there is no reason, other than maybe if you just absolutely have to have image stabilization, there's no reason for you to spend all that money on a Canon lens. Save yourself some and get this Sigma. Sigma has just proved themselves to me. I don't feel the pressure to buy strictly Canon lenses. I'm not a brand loyalty guy necessarily. If something works, it works, and that's about as much as I need from it. But Sigma has really converted me into a believer in their lenses specifically, and the ability of third-party manufacturers to create great glass that really punches above its weight class, especially when it comes to how expensive they are. I mean, saving $600 or $700 on a lens is fantastic, and if you can do that, you absolutely should, because you can put that money into something else. I think if you are a normal human being like me and don't have an unlimited amount of money to spend on your camera gear, I think going the third-party lens route is the way to go, because you're going to save a good bit of money and you're getting gear that is going to hold its own and can really compete and sometimes outclass the big brand counterparts. So I hope this video was informative. I really want to tell people about Sigma if they don't know about it or they're not convinced. I really am a huge advocate for their stuff, and I know that other third-party lens companies are making great stuff as well. So I hope this was informative. If you've got any questions about this Sigma lens or any other lenses that you might want to know something about, let me know. I'd love to answer them if I can, and I hope y'all enjoyed watching. I think that's about it. I'll catch you later.